Prince Charles has said he understands why protests like those organised by Extinction Rebellion happen, but the heir to the throne said tactics like blocking the road were not helpful and alienated potential supporters. When asked if he sympathised with Greta Thunberg, the prince, who's long campaigned for environmental causes, said, "Of course I do, yes." Let's take a listen.
Can I say, you sound a little bit like Greta Thunberg, who said exactly the same thing. She said it's all, I don't know, you probably saw, she said it's all blah, blah, blah. Build back better, blah, blah, blah. I mean, do you feel that she's kind of onto something?
Of course. But I mean, why do you think I've done all this for all these years? Because I'm minded about, and always have done, the next generations.
Joining me now, the editor-in-chief of Majesty magazine and royal biographer Ingrid Seward. Ingrid, thanks ever so much for joining this evening. Do appreciate it. There is no questioning for a second the Prince of Wales's commitment to environmental causes. Like his father, he cares passionately about the environment. However, this is tendentious territory, isn't it? To lionise Greta Thunberg, for instance, not everybody thinks she's a walking, living saint. Might it be better advised just to say nout?
Well, I sort of got the impression for this interview that the Prince gave to the BBC that he was sort of fed up of tiptoeing around the issue. He feels so passionate about it, and he really feels that some people are listening, of course, but he obviously feels very strongly that it is a bit blah, 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 and everyone makes a lot of promises, but they don't do anything. And he's very frustrated by that. And I think he was rather irritated by the person that interviewed him. And I think he just thought, I'm just going to say what I think. I very much got that feeling.
There's a slightly cussed quality to what he had to say there. I mean, it's important to note that he says in the interview, I'm not, I think he was asked directly, you run the risk of alienating people, when you start sitting down in roads and all the rest of it. So he understands where the line is, in the sense that, people have been hugely bothered, exasperated in recent weeks by the activities of Insulate Britain. But, I still find myself, as a great believer in the Prince of Wales, defending him in the newsroom to people today who don't believe that he's going to just shut up and zip it when he becomes king.
I think that's why I really think he will. And I think that's why he's so anxious to just push his point and just keep pushing it. I mean, he's going to the COP26 summit in Glasgow in I think the very beginning of November with his mother, the Queen, and other members of the royal family. And I think he thinks, I've got to make, this has got to be a really, really strong push. And he said he sympathised with these people that are driving all of us mad by lying on motorways and everything, because Prince Charles doesn't have a problem. He's never come across them on a motorway or having trying to get to a hospital where somebody that you know and love is dying. He's never come across any of that. So I think he should have just avoided that question. It was bound to be controversial. But I think I really, really felt that Charles is saying what he thinks now, and to hell with what the world thinks about him. He just wants to get his message across, which, of course, is very much like his father used to do.
And you think maybe he's just getting it off his chest now because he knows he won't be able to do it for all that much longer. I just wonder on the whole format thing, that doing an interview. Think back to the Dimbleby interview he gave. And I'm not for a second drawing any parallels, but when you think about the Prince Andrew interview, it's very easy to think, this is going to be for my benefit, I'm going to be able to get this off my chest, I'm going to be able to sort of declare various interests and go on the record for what I believe. But the history of royal interviews is littered with car crashes. And we just always keep coming back to the Queen's position, which is just, be seen, not heard.
Well, I don't think the Prince of Wales would possibly be seen and be not heard anymore. I mean, obviously, the Queen is seen and not heard, and it's something that she's stuck to her whole life. Very, very, very occasionally she said things. But I think that Prince Charles feels that this is his, time is running out for him to say things. And I actually really agree with him. I think he just should get on and say what he feels. And he's so used to being ridiculed remember when he talked. Well, I think maybe you're too young, Colin, but remember when he admitted that he talked to plants. And I remember the headline in the Sun saying "a loon again." You know, he went to stay in a croft in Scotland. I mean, he's done all these things, and everyone thought he was completely mad, but he's been proven not to be. And I really think he feels that he's got to say his piece, and regardless of how he might be ridiculed, and he knows he will be, and he knows that people will pick up on the fact that he seemed to be sympathising with. I don't even know what they're called, these lunatic women and men that nail themselves to the road. But I think he seems to be sympathising with them. He knew that would be picked up.
Sadly, Ingrid, they don't nail themselves to the road. That would be satisfying for everybody if they actually did that. But
glue themselves.
Just use common garden glue. He does. We're reminded, aren't we, that this is somebody who doesn't need to care about the opinion polls. Nobody elected Prince Charles. That's the whole point of the gig, isn't it? And so therefore, he's not doing it out of any. He's not party pre. He's not trying to carry favour with the public. And you're right. People forget, don't they, just how he was in on this so early. And I wonder if it frustrates him a little bit that he's not given enough credit for being, you know, whatever you think about wherever you sit on the spectrum of environmentalism, he undeniably was saying things 20, 25 years ago, maybe even longer. This applies to his late father as well, which the rest of the world has caught up upon. And I wonder if he's given enough credit for it, really.
I don't think he's given enough credit for many, many, many things he does. I think he's had a very hard time. Everyone sort of, goes back to Diana. And of course, there's an absolute, wealth of Diana things coming out. And each one paints him as the villain of the piece. And I don't think Charles will ever get over that in a way. And I think, he's been actually doing this. So he's now 73, almost 73, and he's certainly been banging the environmental drum since his early to mid 20s. So it is a long time. And I think he feels very frustrated, which one saw in that interview. And I think he just wants to get his word across, and he is desperate for people to listen. And they do listen, because when he gives a speech, it's not crazy stuff. It's, very logical, very well thought out. And, he's written several books on this environment and the planet, and worrying about the children, the great-grandchildren. So he does, and he actually cares. Prince Charles has always said he really cares. And I think that's what will make him a good king regardless. And he won't be able to say all these things when he's king.